Minasan, oha konbannichiwa, and happy Halloween! If you don't know who I am, it's probably not 2020 anymore. Welcome to Genki 2, lesson 14. Today we're going to be covering I want a thing with hoshii, maybe with かもしれない, giving and receiving with a few different words, giving advice with たらどうですか, and nothing but, and as many as. But before we get into that, I just want to mention that if you're finding Toki ni Andy helpful and you'd like to support in some other way, we have a Patreon. And on Patreon, we do things like textbook practice videos where Yuki and I are your partners. We do listening and shadowing videos where you can practice shadowing and listening to Yuki's native Japanese and my Japanese as well, for dialogues from this lesson and from the books as well. We've also got a merch store. There's a link right down in the description right now. And if you're a patron, there's also pretty big discounts right now. Free shipping and 15% off, I believe. And of course, one of the best ways you can help support this channel is by sharing these videos with anyone you know who might be studying Japanese. So that's enough of that. Welcome everyone, it's good to see you here. Let's go ahead and say hello to everyone who is here. Hello Info Abroad, hello Come to Japan, my trusty mod, I guess his name is Dambot now. Welcome, I think I said Tilton. Welcome Megan Dornbrock, welcome Mengkong, welcome Pitovnikov, and who else do we have? Patrick and Lynn and Aubergine Archer, good to see ya, and Chris Lane, and Nath Barbosa, and Chris Lane. And I think that's everyone. If I didn't catch you, throw your name down in the chat right now. It's good to see you. I didn't win the Monbuka Gakusho scholarship. Oh, it's a bummer. Oh. I'm sad to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you still gonna keep studying Japanese? If you are, we're here to help you. Hopefully you can get the next one. Yes, Tanjiro Menkong. I am Tanjiro for Halloween. You got it. So, yes, I'm cosplaying because it's Halloween, guys. Happy Halloween. Well, I guess it's sort of happy Halloween was yesterday, but I didn't get to see you guys yesterday, so I figured I'd dress up today for Halloween because I didn't get to go out yesterday for Halloween either. I've only been able to wear this in my classes with little kids, so I figured I'd wear it on stream. So I am Tanjiro. From Kimetsu no Yaiba. Kimetsu no Yaiba. It's a very popular anime. The movie was massive, made like a couple billion yen, I think. The most a movie has ever made that fast in Japan. Konbanwa Naikins. Good to see ya. Next year I'll try again, so I will study a lot until then. Sounds good. Hope you can get it next year. Sorry to hear that you didn't get it this year. It's a bummer. But anyway, guys, I hope you're all doing okay. Today we don't have that much to cover, but the section giving and receiving in particular is going to be a little challenging. And I'm a little nervous about it, I'll be frank. I think we'll do okay, but it's going to be a little bit heavy. So I feel like we should jump into it and see if we can have some fun while we're at it. Is anyone else dressed up for Halloween? That's all I want to know. Is anyone else dressed up with me for Halloween? If you're not, you still have time. I can't see you. So go ahead and join me. All right, guys. So the first thing we're covering today, after I let you take a look at all of the coloring, this is the general coloring we'll be using. There's other stuff that's going to pop up every once in a while, and I'll try and cover that when it pops up. I'm dressed up as a drunk man, says Pitovnikov. I am a sumo wrestler, says Infobroad. Lovely. Oh my god. I didn't need that image. But good for you guys. Excellent. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be covering is I want something. I want something. I'm dressed as a Donald Trump zombie. Wonderful. So I want something. So to say you want something in Japanese, remember we've already covered tai, which is the conjugation. You put it at the end of verbs like tabetai, I want to eat, to say you want to do something. But when you want an item, generally we use this e adjective called hoshii. So we do it with this pattern, basically. Watashi wa plus a thing. Ga, you mark the thing with ga. Hoshii. Hoshii is just the adjective, and that means that you want whatever that thing is. Now, I don't usually put watashi wa in my in my slides in the examples, because generally things like that are dropped in conversation. The reason I put it here is because I want to point out that generally speaking, you use hoshi for yourself when you want something, not when someone else wants something. We'll get to that in a little bit. But when you want something, you use hoshi. Okay? Now, if it's not a thing that you want, something that you desire specifically, you're going to use the verb, the conjugation tai. If there is a way you can say it with a verb and tai, you're going to use that instead. But if there's an item that you want, you can use hoshi. There can also be some like a noun of some sort that you want. Like for example, there's a sentence later in the lesson, yasumi, which is vacation or holiday. You can use hoshi with things like that because it is a noun. So when you're using nouns and saying that you want that noun, not necessarily an item, but a noun, you're going to use hoshi, like this. Thing plus ga plus hoshi. So one thing I want to mention, I've already mentioned it actually, is that the particle that the thing will take is ga. Nice and big there, right? Thing plus ga plus hoshi. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into some example sentences because I think that's going to help you understand it a little bit more. The first one is hon ga hoshii desu. I want a book. That's it. It's the super basic sentence. Hon ga. The item is marked by ga. Hoshii desu. Now you can put desu at the end of any e adjective to make it sound a little bit more polite. It's not required. Generally, it's often dropped, especially in conversation, but you can add it. So, hon ga hoshii desu. Notice I didn't have the kanji in the examples. It's written commonly both with and without kanji. So it's sort of up to you. I'm not sure if there's a rule. I feel like having it is a little bit more maybe in polite conversation, but obviously you don't have kanji in conversation, so, it's up to you whether you use it or not. I like to use it. I like this kanji, so I generally use it when I'm using it, if I'm typing in text or whatever. But that's just me. Our next sentence is another basic one. It's manga ga hoshii. I want a comic book. Manga ga hoshii. Kimetsu no Yaiba no manga ga hoshii. I want the Kimetsu no Yaiba manga. Chocolate mo hoshii. Now this one's a little bit tricky. You'll notice it's not ga, it's mo. Now you know that mo can replace wo or ga when you want to say also. So think of these two sentences as coming one right after the other. So manga ga hoshii. Chocolate mo hoshii. I want a comic book and I also want chocolate. Okay? So you can replace ga with mo. That is perfectly okay. One other thing I wanted to mention, that you conjugate hoshii just like you would an e adjective. So for example, hon ga hoshii desu. Hon ga hoshii. So you can drop the desu. Hon ga hoshiku nai desu. That means you don't want the thing. Hon ga hoshiku nai desu. You can also drop the desu. Hon ga hoshiku nai. You can also get even more polite and conjugate e adjectives like this. Hon ga hoshiku arimasen. It's the same as hoshiku nai. It just means you don't want the thing. Hon ga hoshikatta desu. I wanted a book. Hon ga hoshiku nakatta desu. I didn't want a book. So past tense negative. Hon ga hoshiku arimasen deshita. There's the most polite form. Well, it's not the most polite, but the most polite form that we know so far in the book of the negative past tense. So you conjugate it just like a regular e adjective. Some more complicated sentences. We have 高校生の時、スケートボードが欲しかった。When I was in high school, I wanted a skateboard. Okay? とっても疲れているから休みが欲しいな。とっても疲れているから休みが欲しいな. I'm really tired, so I seriously want a vacation. And that seriously, I'm translating the na here as seriously. I should probably make that black, but I'm kind of adding emphasis with the na, so I added seriously there. 最近寂しくて友達が欲しくなった。So this is actually using naru, the auxiliary verb naru. So hoshiku naru means became want a friend. Hoshiku natta. I became wanting a friend. Now it sounds really weird in English, but it's actually very common in Japanese to say that you became want something. You became e adjective. So hoshiku natta means I became to want a friend, which sounds weird in English, but it's okay. Thank you, Nihongo Hunters. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Usually, Yuki will read all donations, but it's kind of hard to read a stamp. Can you just read out what it is, Yuki? Come on, run over here. Let's pass her the microphone.
Shiba doggy.
Shiba doggy. Shiba inu.
Shiba inu.
Thank you. Or is it a fox?
Doji da
Could be a fox. Doji. そうだね.
Doji da.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ありがとうございます。
頑張ってください。応援しています。ありがとうございます。シバだ。Alright. So, thank you so much. So, you may be wondering what you should say if you want to say that somebody else wants something. Like in English, we don't really have to think about this. You can just say, Yuki wants something. It's perfectly fine to say that somebody else wants a thing. But in Japanese, you can't just go ahead and use hoshi when you want to say to somebody, or when you want to say that somebody else wants a thing. You can't say that. It's too presumptuous. You don't know for sure what they're feeling, what they want, so you can't use hoshi in that way. Instead, we use the verb, which actually uses the exact same kanji, hoshigaru. Hoshigaru. It's just like tagaru, right? Remember tagaru? For example, tabetagaru, tabetagatteiru, looks like they want to eat. Well, it's basically the same construction, but with hoshi. So, hoshigaru means somebody looks like they want something. So it's the same exact construction, except that we use the o particle instead of the ga particle for this. So person, marked by wa, so the person that wants a thing, wa, thing, wo, hoshigatteiru. Now the most common way to use hoshigaru is with the te iru form. So they look like right now that they want... Oh my god. Oh no. Dan accidentally deleted all of his messages. And banned him. I don't know how to take them out of timeout. I'm so sorry about that, man. I'm sure Come to Japan did not mean to do that. But thank you. Oh no. Nothing, 何もできない. You're just gonna have to wait the 300 seconds. I don't know how to undo that. Oh. Sorry, man. Alright, I'm gonna keep going though. Very sorry about that. So yeah. Hoshigaru is generally used with the te iru form. So hoshigatteiru. Hoshigatteiru is when you're most commonly going to use it. So hoshigaru is conjugated just like any regular u verb is what they call it, but a godan verb. It's conjugated like a godan verb, right? So we've got hon wo hoshigaru or hon wo hoshigatteiru. Hon ga hoshigatteimasu. Hon wo, I'm sorry, not ga. Forget that I said the ga. Let's go over that one more time. Hon wo hoshigaru. Hon wo hoshigatteiru. Hon wo hoshigatteimasu. Hon wo hoshigatteita. So past, they looked like they wanted something in the past. Hon wo hoshigatteimashita. More polite. Hon ga hoshigatteinai. They don't look like they want that thing, or the book in this case. Hon wo hoshigatteimasen. More polite. Hon ga hoshigatteinakatta. Past tense, negative, not polite. I'm just lots of examples here to show you how you can use it. Yeah, like that. So a couple examples, basically the same ones as before, but with hoshigaru, we've got, I just wanted to mention really quickly that you can also use hoshi, but with to itteimashita. So in the same way, you can say hon ga hoshii to itteimashita. So they said they want a book. So in that case, if someone said they want a thing, you can say that they said it, and that's okay. Then you can use hoshi. So hon ga hoshii to itteimashita. But you could also say hon mo hoshigatteiru. Our next sentence is manga wo hoshigatteiru. So they appear to want a comic book, right? They appear to want a comic book. And I know that it's a they or he or she because we're using hoshigatteiru. You wouldn't use that for yourself. You don't say, I look like I want a comic book. You don't say that. You say, I want one. チョコレートを欲しがっていない. They do not appear to want chocolate. Okay? So let's go ahead and jump into our first dialogue of the night. I'll read it slowly one time and then at full speed, and then we'll go over the English translation and we'll go over the question and I'll get to your questions. Alright, so R. チョコレート100 箱が欲しいです。100箱？なんで？ 300 箱が欲しいですから。どういうこと？バレンタインデーでプレゼントをあげた人からホワイトデーで3倍ももらいますよ。そうか。Right, full speed. チョコレート100箱が欲しいです。100箱？なんで？ 300 箱が欲しいですから。どういうこと？バレンタインデーでプレゼントをあげた人からホワイトデーで3倍ももらえますよ。そうか。Let's go with the English for that. So, チョコレート100箱が欲しいです。So, in this lesson, Genki does not cover boxes. There's 5 other counters in the lesson. We're not going to go over them tonight, but they're in the book, in the vocabulary, which you can get on Patreon if you'd like. But I wanted to add boxes as another counter because it's pretty common, counting boxes. And I like how it sounds. 100箱, 100箱. It's actually 箱. But for one and a couple, 100箱, 200, 2箱, 200箱. It changes a little bit depending on how many there are, as you may know about counters. This one changes to 箱 when you have 100, 100箱が欲しいです。100箱？なんで？ 100 boxes? Why? Why do you want 100 boxes of chocolate? 300箱が欲しいですから because I want 300 boxes. どういうこと？ What are you talking about? So どういうこと is basically an expression all within itself. If you want to break it down, it's what or how, say, こと thing, right? But it means what are you talking about? どういうこと or what are they talking about or what do you mean? どういうこと very common. I really like this one. どういうこと what are you talking about? バレンタインデーでプレゼントをあげた人からホワイトデーで3倍ももらえますよ。Because on White Day, you get as much as 3 times what you gave back. What you gave to whoever, what you gave, there should be a comma there, back from whoever you give a present to on Valentine's Day. That is a mouthful, but basically, yeah. So in Japan, we have this thing called White Day. On Valentine's Day, generally, girls give chocolate or presents to guys. And then on White Day, guys are supposed to give back 3 times whatever they received. And White Day is March 14th. So basically, if Yuki were to give me a box of chocolates, I'm supposed to give her back 3 boxes of chocolates worth an equal amount. So 3 times what she gave me, right? That's just how it works here. Valentine's Day, White Day. So this person wants to buy 100 boxes because they want 300 boxes back, apparently. そうか. Oh. So that's our section. Our question for this section is 何が欲しいですか? What do you want? So please give me the item が欲しいです or without the des, whichever you want. 何が欲しいですか? What do you want? What is a thing that you want? Those come to Dan. It's okay, man. You didn't have to do that. Thank you. My 3-year-old son was jumping on me. Did you mute? Poor person. Poor brother. Oof, that sucks, man. Dan bot malfunctions. Nah. Oops. Nope, I was clicking around when my son jumped in. My bad. No worries. Feel really bad. So sorry. Oof, Dan bot fail. How can I recover this chat? You can't. I don't think you can. On Twitch, you can right-click the name and undo everything. Not sure if it's the same here. No, there's nothing I can do, unfortunately, to undo it, it appears, which is stupid. There should definitely be an option to bring someone's messages back, but you can't. So that's really weird, actually. I could probably report it to YouTube and they could bring it back, but I don't have time to do that right now. Anyway, Yuki buy a PlayStation for Andy. He will buy 3. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that that's how it would work. Dan, thank you so much. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. And I hope Nihongo hunters, if you're still here, if that you forgive Dan. He didn't mean to do it. Really sorry about that. But thank you so much, both of you, for the donations. Labrador Retriever が欲しいです。Man, I hate カタカナ。Labrador, you want a Labrador Retriever. Nice. PS5 が欲しいです。いいね。 Legionel. First time I think I've seen you in the chat. Good to see you. Nice to meet you here. We maybe Info Abroad. It's okay, Dan. Another coffee for Yuki. Maybe tea. Thank you, Info Abroad. You guys are so generous. Appreciate it. Yuki actually has to read both of these. Yuki 読まなきゃいけないよ。読んできて。ここに去った方がいいんじゃないか。まあこたつがついてる。あ、ついてないんだ。こたつに何？家が欲しいです。リン。あ、ナイス。はい。
ありがとう、ダン。Sorry in the end, 日本語 Hunters. Very sorry, 日本語 Hunters.
It's okay.
あ、ルシンありがとうございます。It's okay, Dan. あ、私が言うのこのダンへのメッセージ。It's okay, Dan. Another coffee for Yuki. Yay! ありがとうございます。Maybe tea.
Thank you. バナナが欲しい人がいる。Oh, nice. How polite is it? どういうこと？ Not super polite. You can make it more polite by saying どういうことですか? Would make it a little bit more polite. It's not super polite, but it's not rude.
いかがいたしましょうか。
いかがいたしましょうか。
いかがいたしましたかは、どうす
We haven't gotten to Ikaga. Ikaga comes later in the book, so we don't have to go into that too much right now. But yeah, you can use it. It's not a big deal. Good morning, Simpy. Good to see ya. Thanks for stopping by. It's usable. If you want to make it a little bit more polite in general conversation, I would say どういうことですか? But with your friends or family or whatever, you can just say どういうこと? But yeah, it's not super polite, but it's not rude or anything. I deliberately chose katakana for you. Thank you. I need the practice. 新しい light therapy lamp が欲しい. Oh, nice. I don't know what light therapy is, but sounds useful. 私、パソコンが欲しい。確かに、いるよね。But, Tokini Andy, can you use this also at a restaurant? Can I use what also at a restaurant? あ、文部科学省が欲しいね。確かにね。バナナが言ってないってこと？
バナナ、パトリックがバナナ欲しかったのに、ピトブニコブにあげちゃった。
あ、そっか。間違
えちゃった。
朝ごはんが欲しいです。食べた方がいいですよ、Megan. Thanks for being here. Sasha, greetings from Ireland. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. 間違えた、says Yuki. 私はハンバーガーが欲しいです。says Info Abroad. Nice, like it. Wonderful. Can you use 欲しい in a restaurant? You can, but I wouldn't. It's not for requests. I mean, I guess it could be, but you're just saying that you want the thing, not give it to me. So one thing to keep in mind is when you're a guest in a restaurant or at a convenience store or wherever you are, you're generally above in status of the salesperson. So they will speak up to you very politely. And you don't need to be indirect by saying things like, I want something. You could just say, I give it to me, basically. So basically, you could just say please if you want. So this nani nani onegaishimasu or nani nani kudasai is basically the most common way to ask someone. Kudasai is probably the most common way. In restaurants, you use kudasai. It says Lin. Yes, basically. I say basically too much. But yeah, kudasai is much more common than hoshi. Just saying that you have a desire for a certain thing isn't quite the same in English. Like if you say, oh, I want that in English, what you're saying is, give that to me. But in Japanese, not so much. あれが欲しい. Like, it'll work, but most native people probably don't say that. Yuki は、レストランでなんか頼んでる時には欲しいってYukiが言ったことある？
お
母さんに。あ、she'll say it to her mother.
アイス欲しい。
まあでも、それちょうだいってことじゃないでしょ。
店員さんが来たら。
Yeah. お願いしますorください。If you just want to say like, hey, I want ice cream to your mom or something, アイスが欲しい, you can say and maybe she'll bring it to you, but it's not like, go get me ice cream. So it's a little bit different. スターバックスアットノートI don't know what that is. が欲しいです but the sentence works. Reynold Stana. Good to see ya. Californiano をお願いします Exactly. Light therapy lamps are for us folks who live in countries where there is not much sunlight during winter months. Helps against seasonal depression. Ah, I see. That makes sense. That's probably good to have for anyone. 健康が欲しい. Me too. 健康が欲しい. いいね. It's a good sense, Aubergine. I hope you can get it. おはようございます, Andrew Marsh. Good to see ya. It's a little early today. 雪の声は可愛いですね, says Nath. I think Nath might be a little bit behind in the stream. But welcome. I'm glad you think so. I agree. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and keep working our way towards the hard part of this lesson by jumping on to maybe with かもしれない. That was good questions. If you have any questions about those are good answers. If you actually have any questions about that, please let me know, and I will answer them when we get to the end of this section. After this section. 日本人の彼女が欲しい, says Californiano. I hope you can find one. All right, so jumping on to maybe with かもしれない. So maybe in Japanese, it's basically a short form verb plus, or a short form sentence plus かもしれない. So the short form of a verb plus かもしれない. The short form of an e-adjective, in other words, no this, plus かもしれない. An-adjective, nothing in between it, plus かもしれない. And then a noun with nothing in between it, plus かもしれない. Now, かもしれない and でしょう are quite similar, but でしょう is a little bit more certain about it. でしょう means like probably and sort of maybe, but more if you're looking at it on a line. でしょう is more up towards probably, and かもしれない is sort of maybe, but I feel like a little bit more certain than an English maybe. In my mind, I found people use かもしれない to mean something closer to probably. But the best translation we have for it in English is maybe. Just something to keep in mind. So it's pretty easy to use. The book, Genki presents it as かもしれません, but that's basically the polite version of かもしれない, right? So here are some ways you could use it. 本が欲しいかもしれない. I might want a book. 本が欲しいかもしれない. I might want a book. 歩くかもしれません. I might walk. So there we got the more polite version. かもしれませんね. ケチかも. I might be stingy. So ケチ is a vocabulary word from this lesson. It means stingy, sort of tight with your money. And you can cut the しれません part, the しれない part, and just be left with かも in casual conversation. So you can just use かも. Very common. ケチかも. 先生かもしれないね. So this is with a noun. We've got noun, e-adjective, verb, another e-adjective. This is actually a non-adjective. So noun, non-adjective, verb, e-adjective. We got them all here. 先生かもしれないね. You're right. They might be a teacher. 先生かもしれないね. Some more complicated sentences. We've got その本が好きかもしれないよ. You might like that book, you know? So that's the you know is the yo. その本が好きかもしれないよ. You might like that book. Here's a much longer sentence. 遅れるかもしれないので待たないでください. I might be late. So please don't wait. Oh, that rhymed. It wasn't supposed to. I might be late, so please don't wait. 遅れるかもしれないので待たないでください. Alright. No de is of course the so. 先生だったかもしれませんがよく見られませんでした. So that might have been a teacher. Have been, right? We've got the だった past tense. But I couldn't see them well. 見られませんでした. 先生だったかもしれませんがよく見られませんでした. Couldn't see them well. よく is an adverb that means well. That's actually one from this lesson. And that brings us to the dialogue. So I'll read it slowly once, then at full speed, and we'll go over the English translation. So, 100箱じゃなくて100個買ったらどう？なんでですか？だってみんなが返さないかも。でも返すかもしれませんよ。まあそうかもしれないけど買います。じゃあ10万円です。Full speed. 100箱じゃなくて100個買ったらどう？ なんでですか？だって、みんなが返さないかも。でも、返すかもしれませんよ。まあ、そうかもしれないけど、買います。じゃあ、10万円です。Jumping into the English. You'll notice that these people are talking with a mixture of polite and casual Japanese. So Y is using casual Japanese and R is using slightly more polite Japanese. You can assume that maybe Y is older. They said an amount of money, so it seems that they're actually also working at a store. So maybe R is a friend of Y that came in, and then suddenly when she's giving money, if we go back up and look here, when she's asking for money, she gets polite because she has to. It's her job now. 10万円です。Give me 100,000 yen. 100箱じゃなくて100個買ったらどう？ Instead of 100 boxes, not 100 boxes, why don't you buy 100 pieces? So こ is pieces. It's a generic counter for small things. So 100個買ったらどう？ Now, this 買ったらどう is actually the fourth section of this lesson. 買ったらどうですか is the full construction, and it means why don't you do something? In this case, why don't you buy? We're going to go over that later on. If you want to stick around and find out more about that, well, stick around and find out more about that. All right, so the next one was, なんでですか? Huh? Why? It's just why. だって cause みんなが返さないかも. Everyone might not return the favor. So 返す means to give back. I've translated it very colloquially here to mean return the favor. They might not give it back to you. It doesn't sound as good, doesn't flow as much. This might be something you might say in English more. 返さない just means to return something. So みんなが返さないかも. Talking about White Day here. でも返すかもしれませんよ. But they might. In other words, they might return the favor. So I use the verb there, but in English we wouldn't say the verb all over again. 返すかもしれませんよ. Now you couldn't drop the verb here. でもかもしれませんよ. You don't really use that on its own. You want to have the verb there. 返すかもしれませんよ. In English, we would just say, but they might. まあ、そうかもしれないけど. Well, yeah, maybe, but so this is a fun little sentence. So is like, yeah, maybe. かもしれないけど, but. It's a very Englishy sentence actually, but it works. まあ、そうかもしれないけど。買います。I will buy them. I will buy, basically. じゃあ、10万円です. Okay, then it's 100,000 yen. 10万円です. You remember, in Japanese, we count in 10,000. So we count in ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000s is what we count in. In English, we only count in thousands, then millions, etc., etc. Japanese is 10,000s, then I believe it's 100 millions, and then more and more and more. So this is 10万円. This, about $1,000. So the question is, 10万円をあげます。何をしますか? So the question is, I'm going to give you 100,000 yen, so $1,000. 何をしますか? What are you going to do? And tell me what you might do. Use かもしれない. I'm going to do this かもしれない. So for example, if you gave me $1,000 right now, what would I do? 踊るかもしれない. I might dance. Maybe. Or 新しいパソコンを買うかもしれない. I might buy a new computer. でも踊るかもしれない. But I'll probably dance. So, for example, you could say something like that to answer this question. So, let me jump into the chat and see what I missed. Doesn't look like I missed too much. Oh, thank you, Dan. つるかも。I don't have it on かもかも。なるほどね。I didn't remember the kanji for かも, which is duck, for those of you wondering. かもかも. Aha, says Yuki. かもかも. 100 boxes for 100,000 yen? Nani? That's actually not that expensive. It's 100 boxes. Each one is 10 bucks. 10 boxes of good chocolate. Makes sense. It's a reasonable price, right? 100万円は100箱がもらえるんだったら別にそんなもんじゃない? It's pretty much what you're gonna get them for. Smash the like button. 343 watching. Wow. I missed that spike. Give it a few years. Agreed. It could be 1,000 soon. You never know. Soon it'll be thousands in here. Oh, hi. Jasmine for the win. How's it going? Good to see you. My job would be so much harder, said Dan. I think we need a few more, yeah, Dan. Quick question. Who is using Photoshop or anything similar? What do you use, Dan? I use Photoshop. You will ban more people accidentally. Nope, I use a program called Infinity Pro. 新しいパソコンを買おうかもしれないね。iPhone 12 12 Pro を買おうかもしれない says Californiano. Nice. バナナをたくさん買おうかもしれない。本当？パトリック。おバナナを買おうかもしれない。For Yuki, ありがとうございます。PS5 を買おうかもしれない。That's not a bad purchase with that much money. You'd still have some left over. The Legionelle. The Legionelle. Right. 旅しないかもしれない。You might not travel. Okay. 旅しないかもしれない。Nice. Good sentences. Yuki's gonna write something too. So does anyone have any questions about that section or the last section before we move on to the meat of this lesson, which is the one I'm most nervous about? Just got a message. Someone wants me to come back to my old kindergarten. Oh, 日本に行くかもしれない。いいね。10万円で You could probably pull that off. 何を食べる？読めないそれ。柿を食べるかもしれない。どんだけ柿を食べるの？どのぐらい？ Yuki's gonna eat a lot of oysters, apparently. You don't need that much money to eat oysters. 1000ドルの安藤さんの服を買おうかもしれない。あ、not quite, メンコン。かもしれない。So, 買う。So you got the verb. Oops, I just opened up the Google console by pressing F12 by accident. Okay, got rid of that. So, 買う. My mic is in the way. あれ? Turn into Japanese. 買う. かもしれない。ね。かもしれない。There we go. 旅するかもしれない says Lin. するかもしれない。しないかもしれない。Either one is a perfectly fine sentence. お金を貯める。いいね。かもしれない。Lena, it's a good idea. 貯めるかもしれない says Lena. That's the smart move there. あと、世界一周、1000ドルで無理だろ。
無理？1000ドルじゃない。
1000ドルで一周するの？
だって100万円って1ミリオン。
100万円。そっか。So I just made a mistake here. 100万円 is not $1,000. 100万円 is a lot more than that. I didn't make a mistake in the question. I made a mistake in telling you how much that was in US dollars. So 100万円 is $1 million, right? 1 million yen.
So 1 million yen.
1 million yen. So that's 1 million yen, which would be about $10,000. So you can actually do quite a bit more than what you're saying, I imagine. Sorry. I'm Japanese. This live helps me study English, says Akio. よかったね。ありがとうございます。頑張ってください、英語。I'm glad that it's helping you study English. 100万円を銀行の貯金を、ナイス。入るかもしれない。入れるかな ?I think you want to say 入れる。に入れる。振り込むかな入れる。ぽっちゃり。100万円を銀行の貯金に入れるかもしれないね。10K. My Japanese is getting too messy in my head. 休むかもしれない says Megan. That's probably a good idea. Wow, we rich boys, says Legionel. Banana party with all you guys. Woo woo. You totally can go to Japan for that much money. パーティーするかもしれない。俺もダンスするんだね。絶対ダンスする。1時間ぐらいかな。
1時間も
I'll do a one hour dance party on live stream. That could be fun. All right. Sorry, if you want to update your answers, that's perfectly fine. I will read them after we get through the next section, which is giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. 新しい台所が買おうかもしれません。そうだね。そう。新しい台所を kao, wo kao. So kao takes the particle wo generally. Wo kau kamoshimasen. That's a big one. Yeah. No, I'm late. Forgot about the daylight savings time here. I figure a lot of people did. No worries. Welcome to the stream. Nihon, do not pass go. Thanks for stopping by. All right. So giving and receiving in Japanese, it's a tough one. I struggled with figuring out how I could explain this well because I think everyone struggles with this one when they first learn it. Maybe not everyone. I know I did. It still confuses me from time to time. And looking at it like this on the screen, it's still kind of confusing. Let's just look at this way really quick, and then I'll try and make it a little bit more simple for you. So we've got giver plus wa ga, either particle is fine. Receiver ni ageru, that means to give. Same thing plus kureru also means to give, but not to someone else. Like you can't use kureru when you give something to someone else. That's for when people give something to you or someone very close to you. It'll make sense in a minute, I promise. For morao, which is to receive, the receiver comes first, marked by wa and ga, and the giver comes next, and you mark them with ni or kara. Kara is actually, I feel better using kara with morao. Yuki also tends to use kara more with morao, but ni is also perfectly fine. Also, I didn't put this in the formula, but any item that you're giving will be marked with the o particle. So, for example, we'll get into that with the example sentences. Now, that's a little bit confusing. So I decided to make a chart to sort of help it make a little bit more sense. Now, this chart is pretty complicated, but you can see here I've got arrows like from you, ageru, so give a thing to this person. But if that person gives you something and you want to say give, you use kureru, so you need a different verb. Now, if you give someone close to you, use ageru, and if they give you something, you say kureru. Now, you can also use morao to say you receive something from someone. But before we jump into all that mess, let's go one by one like this. So this is me over here, just hanging out in the you section. So let's start with ageru, which is to give, right? From you. So you're going to give something to someone, or someone else is going to give something to someone. So I'm going to give an item to my close friend. So then I'm going to use ageru. Andy wa close friend ni ageru. I'm going to give something to someone random. Maybe someone I don't know very well or someone I've never met before. Andy wa random A ni ageru. Right? Now, if my close friend gives something to someone else, someone random, or even to another family member, close friend wa random B ni ageru, right? Now, if random person A and random person B are giving stuff back and forth to each other, we use ageru, only ageru. Just random people that we don't really know. We're just telling a story about how this friend gave something to that friend. Not super close to you, like not family. You use ageru for always. It's always going to be ageru. So, random A wa random B ni ageru. So, random A gave something to random B. Random B wa random A ni ageru. So random B gave something to random A. So that's ageru, right? So these are the situations you can use. Give someone to someone random. You give someone to someone close to you or a relative. Someone close to you or a relative gives something to a random person, or random people giving stuff to each other. That's when you use ageru. All right. Moving on to some example sentences using this. We've got boku wa Yuki ni ocha wo ageta. So this is Yuki's over here. Boku wa Yuki ni ocha, right here. Ocha wo ageta. I gave her tea. I gave Yuki tea. So we need ageru there, right? Here we've got A-san wa B-san ni boshi wo agemashita. So Mr. A gave B a hat. So that went this way. Mr. A. A-san wa B-san ni boshi wo agemashita. A-san gave, Mr. A gave Mr. B or Mrs. B a hat. Next sentence is Yuki ni geimu wo ageru tsumori desu. So, I plan to give Yuki a game is what this sentence implies, right? So, I have no giver in this sentence, so you can assume it's me. Yuki ni geimu wo ageru tsumori desu. It could be someone else. Maybe B intends to give Yuki a game, but unless they've already come up in the situation, you can pretty much safely assume that it's me. Yuki ni game wo ageru tsumori desu. I plan to give Yuki a game. So that's ageru. Following along? Kureru is simpler. Kureru is only in these situations. If someone random gives something to you, if someone random gives something to someone very close to you, like your wife or your children or your mother or father, something that you can sort of see as benefiting you because it's to someone so close to you. So if someone gives your family lots of money, well, that might benefit you as well. So you can use kureru. You can also use it when someone close gives something to you. So generally, things moving from the outside of your domain of competence into you in some way, shape, or form, you're using kureru to mean give. You can never use kureru outward, giving to someone else, outside of your circle of, I guess, competence or the people that you are very close to. You can't use kureru in that situation. And random people that you don't really know, you're not going to use kureru to say that they're giving stuff to each other. You're only going to use ageru. So, giver wa receiver ni kureru. So, for example, random A wa boku ni kureru. So, random A gives something to me. Yuki wa boku ni kureru. Yuki gives something to me right here. Random B wa close friend. Yuki ni nanika kureru. Give something to her. And also, all of these situations, the item that they're giving is going to be marked with the O particle. So, let's go over some let's go over some examples. So, Yuki's down here. Boku ni, so we're going this direction. Ocha wo kureta. Yuki gave me tea. So we went in that direction, right? Next is dareka. So someone. Dareka ga. Now we don't know who it is, so we're going to use ga. We're not going to make them the topic of the sentence. We don't know who it is. Ga. Someone random. Dareka ga Yuki ni. So Yuki's over here. Boshi wo kuremashita. Someone gave Yuki a hat. Some random person. Ryoshin ga. Ryoshin is parents, so we're over here. My parents in particular. Ryoshin ga. We're over here. Boku ni. Go in this direction. Okane wo ammari kurenai. My parents rarely give me money. Almost never. I would say never. So, 両親が僕にお金をあんまりくれない. So you can use it in the negative as well to say not give, of course, just like any verb. It's just like any verb. By the way, all of these, あげる, もらうis different, but あげる and くれる are conjugated like ichidan verbs. Okay. くれない. Going this direction. But, well, actually, not going in this direction, but you know what I mean. Okay, so now, もらう can be used in pretty much the same way as くれる in all the same situations. We can come from random person to close friend. Sorry that thing keeps popping up. We can go from a close friend into you or from a random person into you. Any way is fine, but the direction here is reversed. If we go back up to くれる, we've got giver first, marked by wa or ga, receiver marked by ni. But for もらう, we've got the receiver marked by wa or ga. They're the topic of the sentence. They're the main person who's receiving something. And the giver is who it's coming from. It's the direction it's coming from. So we mark them with ni. But more frequently, I feel like, at least where I live, kara. From. Kara means from, right? Ni can also just mean in a direction. But kara generally, this is the kara that means from. So it feels better, I feel like, to say kara when you're using morao. So let's just go over some examples right here. Random A wa boku ni, or boku. No. It's from the person. So me, I'm the receiver. Andy wa random A kara morao. So I received something from random A. In this situation, we've got boku wa, so I'm the receiver. Close friend ni, or kara morao. In this situation right here, we've got close friend or relative wa or ga. Random B ni, or kara morao, in this direction, right? I just saw Nihon do not pass go. Total mind destruction. Yeah, it's a weird one. And you're going to have to practice with it a lot to get used to it. But suffice it to say that morao and kureru can be used in the exact same situations. If you look at the grayed out here section here, we've got kureru. So random person into me. Morao, same thing. Kureru, same thing. Kureru, same thing. Morao and kureru can be used in the exact same situations. It just depends on what you want to emphasize. The topic of kureru is the giver. And the topic of morao is the receiver. So which one is more important to you in that situation? Which one do you want to express more? Do you want to say you received something, or do you want to say that someone else gave something to you? So kureru will emphasize the person who's giving it. They're the topic of the sentence. So-and-so gave me this thing. Whereas the topic of a morao sentence is the receiver. In most situations, yourself. So I received something from so-and-so. So the more important part in that sentence is obviously marked by wa or ga, the receiver. So who do you want to emphasize? Do you want to emphasize the receiver or the giver? So that's how you're going to decide whether to use kureru or morao. Whereas ageru is always outgoing. It's between people. You can always use ageru if you're going to give something to someone. And that's all you're going to use if you're giving things to people. You're never going to use kureru or morao if you're giving. And if someone that is really close to you is giving stuff to other people, you're always going to use ageru as well. Ageru never comes into you. It's always going out. And between people you don't know, if items are changing hands, always going to be ageru. If it's just random people, right, that you're not friends with. So let's go over some morao sentences. They're actually the exact same sentences. We just reverse them so that we can use morao. So, boku wa Yuki ni or Yuki kara ocha wo moratta. I received tea from Yuki. So if you looked up at the kureru sentence, the topic of the sentence is Yuki. Yuki gave me tea. Yuki wa boku ni ocha wo kureta. So Yuki is the topic of that sentence. She gave me something. But in this sentence, I'm the topic. I was given something. I received something. Boku wa Yuki ni or kara ocha o moratta. So now I'm the topic of the sentence. Boku wa Yuki kara choko o moraitai. I want to receive chocolate from Yuki. Boku wa Yuki kara choco or chocoreto o moraitai. Chocoreto is often shortened to choco. I want to receive chocolate from Yuki. Next sentence is the same one as before, but 両親がお金をもらおうと言っていた。両親がお金をもらおうと言っていた。My parents said they will receive money. So this is the sentence I was talking about before, basically. 両親がお金をもらおうと言っていた。My parents said they will receive money. So they're the topic of the sentence. Or they're not the topic, but they're the subject because they're marked by ga. They said they're going to get money. お金をもらう. So it's coming this direction. Which is perfectly okay. This is so annoying. So it's a little bit weird. Hope that made it make a little bit more sense. Here's the big monstrosity, which is everything, which is a little bit harder to follow, but I got a few examples here, actually the exact same sentence, and I'm showing you how you could express it using the different words. So, ageta. Boku wa Yuki ni ocha o ageta. So I gave Yuki tea. So that's right here. Boku wa Yuki ni. So I have to use ageta. I have to use ageru. I can't kureru or morao to people. I have to use ageru. It's going out. I just got a massive... Did my stream just go offline? That's probably fine. Boku wa Yuki ni ocha o ageta. So I have to use ageru. It's going outwards. Now, Yuki wa, Yuki's the topic. Boku ni, so it's coming to me. Boku ni ocha wo kureta. So I have to use kureta because it's coming to me. Boku ni. If it was kara, you know that morao is going to come. You can't use kara with kureta. So Yuki wa, she's down here. Boku ni. So I have to use kureru. I have to use kureru. Kureta. I couldn't use morao here because Yuki wa boku ni ocha o morao. You can't use morao in the other direction to say that she got something from me. So it's got to be kureta. Boku wa Yuki ni ocha wo moratta. I received tea from Yuki. So I'm the receiver. I'm the most important part in this sentence. Coming this direction. Yuki ni ocha o moratta. Or kara ocha wo moratta. We're going this direction. Okay? So if you just showed up on the stream and that's all you saw, your mind is probably hurting. I strongly suggest going back and check out the section by section where we went over each different word, because I think that's a little bit easier to follow. I don't think it's easy, and there's... let's make that a little bit bigger. I don't know how to make it much easier than that. I wish I could. The only thing I can say is that you need practice with it. The more you practice with it, the more easier it will become to understand. And maybe look at those charts a little bit and try to make sentences using them in the pattern. And I think you'll be able to get it, but it is confusing. It's still messy, even for me sometimes when I'm saying, it's never messy with ageru. Ageru is simple. It's coming out from you or just between other people. But kureru and morao I mess up every once in a while. So you just gotta practice. So let's go ahead and jump over into the dialogue. I'll read it slowly once, then at full speed, then we'll go into English and we'll go over the question. So, R-san kara, I'm gonna say R-san. R-san kara チョコレートをもらいました。僕にもくれた。僕も R さんにもらった。社長にもあげたと思います。すごいね。多分、みんなにあげたかもしれない。Full speed. R さんからチョコレートをもらいました。僕にもくれた。僕も R さんからにもらった。社長にもあげたと思います。すごいね。多分、みんなにあげたかもしれない。Let's go over the English. R さんからチョコレートをNo, I dropped the particle. もらいました. Probably should have the particle there since it is in a polite tone, but it happens sometimes. I received chocolate from Miss R. 僕にもくれた. She also gave me some. So we've dropped R-san from this. So the full sentence would be R-san は僕にもくれた. But because we've already had R-san in the previous sentence, you can drop it. As you always can in Japanese. にも to me as well. にも。僕も R さんに or からもらった。I also received some from R さん. So in this situation, 僕 is now the topic. They're the main part of the sentence. I also received some from R さん. R さんからもらった。I also received some from Miss R. 社長にもあげたと思います。So 社長's not here. We're talking about 社長. So Miss R and 社長. If we go up and look at the circles, drop my face off the map. We go back and look at the circles. They're between each other. Two people that we don't know. Well, we know them, but it's not us. Two random people. So Yuki or R-san, I guess, and Shacho. So we have to use ageru. Has to be ageru. So that's why that's the way it is. Scrolling back down, let's get my full face up. 社長にもあげたと思います。I think she also gave some to the company president. 社長 is company president. すごいね。That's something else, eh? Or that's amazing. 多分 also means maybe, and it often marks that a かもしれない is about to come at the end of the sentence. 多分みんなにあげたかもしれない。It's possible that she gave some to everyone. 多分 plus かもしれない 多分 sort of marks that かもしれない is coming. 多分みんなにあげたかもしれない. It's possible that she gave some to everyone. So what I want you to do is I want you to tell me about the last thing that you gave to someone. Tell me what is the last thing you gave to someone, anyone. So you're going to use あげる, obviously. I'll go back up to the examples so you can see what the pattern is. Tell me about the last thing you gave to someone and the last thing you received. You can use either もらう or くれる. So I'm going to drop up to the chart so you can take a look at that monstrosity and hopefully figure it out. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to leave this up so you can use either あげる, くれる or もらう. So please tell me about the last thing that you gave to someone. So that would be, for my example, it would be 僕は What is the last thing I gave someone? なんだろう。僕はゼロアという友達に Twitch Prime の subscription をあげた。I gave my friend Zero a Twitch Prime subscription. I subscribed to his Twitch, I guess. Last thing I received, 僕はユキからなんだっけなんて言うんだっけあれ。豚のスープはなんだっけ豚汁をもらいました。So that's my sentences. Alright, let's go ahead and jump and see how much I botched that one up. I feel like was probably a confusing one. What is that? The info about the chart is worse. What Hello, I'm a tad late. I'm babysitting. Carpe diem, good to see ya. Thanks for stopping by. Ohayo o banana no ojo. Ah, nice. Jo. Princess of bananas. This figure is easy to understand. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Okio. ありがとうございます。ちょっと難しかったと思ったんだけど。Love this small Andy says. Love this small? お疲れ様です。Carpe diem. Simpy says, whoa. Do we use wa or ga or wa and ga? Either one is okay. So if you're marking yourself, I would use wa. If you're marking if both people in the sentence are going to be other people, I would use ga generally. But yeah, I'm not sure if there's really a rule for it. They're just both okay. Ga emphasizes the person more, I guess. I'm the one that received something from someone. Boku ga dareka ni. I'm the one that received something from someone. Ga adds more emphasis to it. Okay, thanks. I just joined in 5 minutes ago, so I didn't watch the beginning of the lesson. It says HSHS Craft. Good to see ya. You joined at a confusing point. Why so difficult, says Lynn. It's Japanese, says Info. I must have missed the lesson title. I saw this before. Total mind destruction, pretty much. But this gets better with time. Yeah, it just takes practice. Oh, I just lost my place. Ha, this is going to take a lot of practice and memorize. Yes, this is one that unfortunately, I can't make it much simpler. It's just going to take a lot of practice. It's 7 a.m. and this chart should destroy me, but it's very good. Thank you. I feel like they try to teach too many similar concepts at the same time. That makes it confusing. I agree. It would make sense to split them up, but they're so closely tied together that it would also probably be just as confusing to split them up. Morao and kureru, it's very similar. It's very much based on the perspective. That's how I understand it. How do I say you received chocolate from me? You received chocolate from me. あなたは私から何々をもらった。チョコレートをもらった。あ、じゃあ、もらうはあんな風に使えるんだ。こっちからも言えるんだ、もらう。本当は言わないんだよね。You really can't. So you really can't say that. Like, so the sentence, right. The sentence that I just said, who was that? Where was that? Ah, Matthias, Elias. So the sentence that I just said, 君は私から何々をもらった。That makes sense. Like, it makes sense, but it's not grammatically correct. You can't actually say that. Like, it makes sense. Like, the person will understand what you're talking about. But as you can see from the chart here, it's not grammatically correct. It doesn't work. Morao can't be going outwards from you. Also, kureru can't be going outwards. So you can't say in Japanese that you received something from me. You can only say that you gave something from someone. Because you can't, think of it as perspective. Morao is from the perspective of yourself receiving something. The only reason you can use morao with a close friend or a relative is because you can be said to be able to see something from the perspective of someone who's really close to you. But you can't see something from the perspective necessarily, at least in Japanese, of someone who's not very, 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 very close to you. So you can't use morao in this direction. You can only see things from your own perspective, which means things coming towards you, kureru. You can see things coming at you and you can see yourself giving things to other people. But you can't see other people receiving things from you. That's not a perspective that makes sense in Japanese. I hope that makes sense the way I just explained that. But yeah, it's a matter of perspective. When you give someone to someone, you do that from your perspective. So that's how you need to describe it in Japanese. In English, we can mess around with that. We can mess around with perspectives. We can sort of manipulate them more. But you can't in Japanese. You can't do that. It's a very, very, yeah, you can't. We don't. So you wouldn't say that in Japanese. Hi, Andy and Yuki. Can we also use kara in kureru? No. Or is it only with morao? Excuse me. It's only with morao. Stream still live. Yes, it is, Cornell. Thanks for stopping by. Only with morao. I think kara means from, and that only works with morao. Yeah, because kureru is more like give. It's not receive. So you don't give something from someone else. I guess you could in English, but it means something totally different, right? You give something to someone else, so you can only use ni. Only use ni with kureru. マテさんからチョコレートをもらった。僕はマテさんからチョコレートをもらった。That would mean that I received chocolate from Matthias. That would work, but he was saying something different. Only we use から with good, good, good. 昨日は友達の誕生日でした。あら、あら、あら、I lost the sentence. It keeps moving fast. 友達に花とワインをあげた。Good. You need the O particle, but it works. In conversation, that would be perfectly acceptable. Good sentence, Petavnikov. 僕はアンディにスーパーチャットをあげました。そう、僕はダンにスーパーチャットをもらいました。ありがとうございます、ダン。ダンからもらいました。ありがとうございます。私は友達に昼ご飯をあげた。No, so あげる is conjugated like an 一段 verb, so you just drop the ru and add ta, but otherwise good sentence line. あげた。兄が私に鉛筆をくれました。筆ね、筆か。筆をくれました。OK, good. 歯医者は僕に鎮痛剤をくれた。good. Good one, Patrick. 友達は僕に Discord Nitro をあげ... That one wouldn't work. So, あげる, if you look here, あげる is only going out. So, if it's to you, you have to use くれました. So, you would say HS crap. 友達は僕に Discord Nitro をくれました. So, then you're going to use くれる. So, when it's coming into you and you want to say give, you need to use くれる. This is the part that gets confusing, right? The fact that you can say くれる and もらう to people who are really close to you. If it makes it easier to understand, you can ignore that part for now. The fact that you really can't with other people. くれる and もらう is just things coming at you. But because you can sort of be said to see things from the perspective of people who are really, 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 really close to you, you can use it. もらう and くれる. But yeah, generally くれる and もらう is just things coming at you. I think I already mixed them up. When we use もらう, the subject is... thank you, Yuki. Good stuff. Race. Message retracted. Sorry, I think I already mixed them up. Meant to say queen, I always get those backwards when I use kanji. 僕は Steam セールにゲームのセールを面コンくれました。セールをもらいました。くれました。何がqueen は女王。女王 is... 日本 do not pass go. 女王 is correct. I read it wrong the first time. You were correct. 僕は Steam セールにゲームのセールをくれました。Steam sale isn't a person, it's an event, right? So you can't be given something by a event. So it's things passing hands between people or living things, right? To say you got something from a Steam sale, you would say something like 僕は Steam セールでゲームを買った stuff like that. So it doesn't quite work with inanimate objects like that. 私はhold on, sorry. I keep opening... How did I open that up? I keep opening up the Google the developer tools. 私は夫にケーキをあげた. Yes, good one, Nikons. Love it. カリフォルニアの妹にかぼちゃをあげました。その漢字使える? Wrong kanji だよね. Yeah, we don't use that kanji with that though, Californiano. But the sentence is good, yeah. Sentence is good, kanji is wrong. くれました。私は友達に花をあげました。Good. 私は兄にアドバイスをくれました。私は兄からくれましただよ。もらいました。くれましたって言ったけど。私は兄にアドバイスをくれました。でも私はくれないよね。そうだね。はい。Okay. So, Lena, the second sentence, the first sentence is good. That's what, okay. See, this is where I get messed up. If you switch that verb to もらいました, it's fine. So, 私は兄にアドバイスをもらいました. I received advice from my brother. But if you want to use くれました, you need to switch the noun. So, 兄は私にアドバイスをくれました. So, if we jump back up to here, you'll see that with くれました, the giver needs to be marked with wa or ga, and the receiver is marked with ni. So, with くれました. But if you want to put the receiver first, yourself, 私は兄にアドバイスをもらいました. Or 兄からアドバイスをもらいました. Right? Sweet. Making these sentences really helps me see where everyone doesn't quite get it. It's super helpful. I'm glad we do this. 弟の誕生日に私は兄に A をあげました。So you just gotta drop that か。あげました。ね。Good one, Race. I imagine that か was just a typo. I think I messed up the order. Yes. 私は犬に朝ごはんをあげました。Perfect aubergine. Yes, good sense. 最近誰かにも何ももらいませんでした。I haven't received anything from anyone. So if you're going to use もらいました, you need to switch the person, I think. 誰かにも、私は誰かに、yeah, that's fine. 誰にも何も、I think you want to change that to 誰にも。この文章ってさ、誰かにも何ももらえませんでしたは、誰にも何ももらえませんでしたよね。そうだね。もらえませんでした。もらいませんでした。うん。So you want to change it to 誰にも何ももらいませんでした。ナイキンズ、私の友達は私に本もくれました。Yes, good. メガン・ドーンブラック、私の夫に絵をあげました。Yes. 私の夫に私は私のyeah, okay, good. Interesting. Regarding the moral, to translate something like, did you receive any message? I'd have to change what it means because it really isn't a thing in Japanese. Right. You wouldn't say, that's the difficulty of translating from English into Japanese. You don't say that kind of stuff. So what you would actually say in that situation would be, was there any messages? Did any messages exist? So, メッセージがありましたか? Did you have any messages? So you wouldn't say, did you receive any messages? Right? You wouldn't use these for that kind of receiving of messages and stuff. These are not for that. These are exclusively for the giving and exchange of items, basically, or advice or nouns, right? Receiving messages, yeah, doesn't quite work. But I guess you could say, 誰かにメッセージをもらいましたか?誰かにメッセージをもらいましたかって言えるか。
まあ、メッセージっていうメールって感じ。
まあね、メール、そうだけど。誰かに何々をもらいましたか You could say もらいました。You could use もらう with that. Mateus. Interesting. Regarding the もらう to translate something like, did you receive my message? My message ね。Did you receive my message? I'd have to change what it means because it's basically. So, so like, yeah. Here's how that would work. So I sort of misunderstood the question. My message is a noun on its own. It's not from you anymore. You can actually use that because you can say 私のメールとか. So if we're talking about like an email or something, メール。私のメール becomes in and of itself a single noun. So you could say the receiver. So あなたは私のメールをもらいましたかいや、もらおうはいい。使わないね。Nah, you wouldn't use it. You wouldn't use it. 届きましたか Yeah, you would say, did it arrive? So never mind. I was right. My explanation was correct. 届きましたか would be a good verb you could use, which means did it arrive? 届く means to arrive, specifically for like mail or for messages and stuff. 届いた私からのプレゼント届いたDid you receive the present from me? So you wouldn't use these. You don't use this for stuff like that. Had a typo, had to delete. No worries. Morning all, I wanted to stop by and say, hi, Final Boss, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Did you open my message? メッセージを開けましたか Yeah, something like that. 私は猫にヘアボールをもらいました。大変だね。ヘアボールをもらいましたって Megan Dornbach.By the way, guys, Megan did use the correct Yuki じゃなくて Megan used the correct kanji for もらいました there. Hairball in Japanese is called kedama. By the way, kedama. Right. The kanji, if you look at it, is just hairball. Kedama. Oops. Kedama. There you go. Kedama. Hairball. I'm way behind.No, I'm not. Sup, Final Boss? Thanks again for the logo. Looks great. Yeah, Final Boss made that cool logo for coming to Japan. Looks pretty sick. I didn't realize it's quite close to his, actually. Nice. Thank you for these lessons. They were really helpful. I'm happy to hear that, Matthias, and I'm happy that we're sort of getting this one worked out. I'm not sure how I'm going to cut this one. because I feel like a lot of these questions have helped. Are you a jockey in training, Andy? Nice top. This is if you've watched Kimetsu no Yaiba, this is I'm dressed up for Halloween, so I am Tanjiro from Kimetsu no Yaiba. I've got the happy and everything. The camera is too small. 彼氏は私に抱っこをくれました。言えるよね。彼氏は私に抱っこをくれました。It's a cute. That's てくれるね。It's a very cute way of saying it, I guess. It's not really grammatically correct. You would actually use てくれる. てくれる is a thing. We're not going to go over that today. It's coming up. But yeah, 抱っこしてくれました is what you would want to say there. Because 抱っこ is not really, it's a 抱っこするかな。先月は母の誕生日です。先月でしたからプレゼントをあげました。Good. So you just have to change that ですとでした to make it past tense because last month, right? So 先月は母の誕生日でしたから or だったからプレゼントをあげました。Good sense. いいな。It's very important vocab for me. Thank you, Kedama. Tanjiro cosplay. Yes, I'm watching it now. That's why I thought it looks familiar. Nice. Yes, I am Tanjiro for Halloween. I don't usually dress up like this on stream. All right, guys. Those were some great answers, and it helped me sort of iron out some stuff. I feel like I'm gonna have a really hard time cutting this because I'm gonna want all the explanations for your sentences. So maybe I'll just keep them in there. We'll see. Should be fun. Our next section tonight is giving advice in Japanese. So the final two sections tonight are much simpler. They're going to be much more straightforward. We're going to barrel through them, and you're going to have zero problems. I'm confident in that. So let's go ahead and get a drink before I make a fool of myself for making such a statement. We'll see. No, it really is quite simple compared to the last section, I think. So it should be a breath of fresh air. So the next section is, let's go back to the beginning, giving advice in Japanese. So giving advice uses this, taらどうですか. The book presents it as たらどうですか, which is fine. Either is fine. I prefer to think of it as たらどうですか. But to sort of explain that a little bit better, we'll probably have to look at sentences, but it's derived from the structure which hasn't been introduced yet. So I think they put this too soon. Sentence 1 plus たらどうですか, and by たら we mean the short past tense of a verb plus だ. So for example, 食べたら. So adding だ after the short past tense of a verb actually means if that verb. So 食べたら means if eat. That's actually not shown up yet in Genki. Excuse me. I've got like a bubble in my stomach. Great image, right? Okay. So sentence 1 ending in a short form past tense verb, ta or da or whatever, plus da. Tara means if that verb. So that's going to show up later in Genki, but it's the most, I'd say, basic form of if conditional, right? So this is using that. So we've got the short form past tense plus da. どうですか? How about or why don't you is what this comes out. Literally, do is how is question marker. How is something something. So 食べたらどうですか means how is eat or how about eat or how about if eat because the tara gives you an if. So how about if eat is what that would literally mean. Now, we do not use this like we do in English. Like, why don't you come over to my house? Inviting someone over to your house, you don't use that like that. In English, you can say that. Why don't you come over to my house? Like, as an invitation, right? We do not use ra do desu ka to invite people to do things. It's for giving advice and specifically giving advice when it's asked for. It's actually somewhat rude to use ra do desu ka if you aren't first asked for advice. It's very presumptive of you to offer advice with ra do desu ka if you haven't first been asked for it. So don't use it. basically, unless someone's asking you for advice. I had one other note here. Yes. In informal speech, you can drop the desu ka, of course. That actually showed up in our very first dialogue this week. We just had something ra do. It's very common. Let's go over some example sentences so that you can get a better idea of what this is. So my sentence that I was just talking about, 食べたらどうですか? Why don't you eat? Literally, how about if eat? Which becomes why don't you eat? 食べたらどうですか? How would it be if something? How about if something? 諦めたらどうですか? 諦めたらどうですか? Why don't you give up? あげたらどうですか? Why don't you give? It to them is implied here. Why don't you give it to them? あげたらどうですか? So you just need the past tense short form at だどうですか? Or just どう. Now, I mentioned that generally you're only going to be using this if you were asked advice about something to begin with. So I figured I should have some back and forth here. 仕事が嫌い. I hate my work. どうしたらいい? What should I do? So here's that どう again. どう. How or what it means. したらいい. If, this is the if of する. So したら, if do, good. いい, good. So what would be good if I did it, basically, is what this actually literally translates to. What would be good if I did it? Better English, of course, is what should I do? どうしたらいい? 仕事が嫌い. どうしたらいい? I hate my work. What should I do? So you've been asked for advice here. You've been asked for advice. Now you can use どうですか without worrying about being rude. やめたらどうですか? Why don't you quit? Just like that. C さんが好きだな. C さんが好きだな. I really like Mr. or Mrs. C. プレゼントをあげたらどうですか? Why don't you give them a present? So the person isn't necessarily asking for advice, but they're complaining about how they like someone. So now you've maybe got some advice for that. Now you can give them advice, and it's not really rude. And maybe they're close to you, especially based on the way they're talking. C さんが好きだな. They probably consider you somewhat close if they're speaking that casually. Na I've translated here as really. It's just emphasizing the fact and making it a little wistful that they like C. プレゼントをあげたらどうですか? And that's it. I feel like that's simple. We'll see how you guys do in the examples, but let's go ahead and jump into the dialogue. ホワイトデーが来るぞ. そうですね。R さんに何か買わなきゃいけませんね。みんながもらったので、みんなからお金をもらったらどうですか? どうして? みんなからもらってすごく高いチョコレートを買ったらどうですか? あ、いいですね。Full speed. ホワイトデーが来るぞ。そうですね。R さんに何か買わなきゃいけませんね。みんながもらったので、みんなからお金をもらったらどうですか? どうして? みんなからもらってすごく高いチョコレートを買ったらどうですか? あ、いいですね。Let's go over the English for that. ホワイトデーが来るぞ。White day's coming, guys. Zo is a very masculine yo. So it just means yo, but it's very masculine. So I just translated it to guys. White day's coming, guys. ホワイトデーが来るぞ。そうですね。R さんに何か買わなきゃいけませんね。Yeah, we have to buy something for Miss R, don't we? そうですね。Yeah. R さんに Miss R. 何か something. What would probably, you don't need it here. 何か買わなきゃいけませんね。We must buy something or we have to buy something for Miss R. みんながもらったので everyone received something from her. みんながもらったのでみんなからお金をもらったらどうですか? So, why don't we, in this case, 私たちはみんなからお金をもらったらどうですか? So I combined もらう here, right? So the receiver would be us. みんながもらった. Everyone received something. みんなが, they're marked with が. みんなが R さんからもらった。Right? Chocolate. Everyone received chocolate from R さん。ので、そう。みんなからお金をもらったらどうですか？ Why don't we receive money or get money from everyone? どうして？ Why? みんなからもらって、we receive the money from everyone. すごく高いチョコレートを買ったらどうですか？ And how about if we buy some super expensive chocolate? Makes sense, right? すごく高い。Really expensive. チョコレートを買ったらどうですか？ How about if we buy some really expensive chocolate for them? I should have probably had that all in brown, sorry. But I wanted to point out that it's 3 different words actually. どうですか？あ、いいですね。Good idea. The question, the example, is me saying, お腹が空いた。I'm hungry. Give me advice. お腹が空いた。So please give me advice while I drink water to fill my empty stomach. How's it going, chat? Did that one make a little bit more sense than the last one? I am bad at giving advice. Are ya? Well, now you can do it better in Japanese. I always lead people to do wrong things, so that's not good. Guys, stay hydrated, have a drink. It depends on what you're telling them to have a drink of, I guess, whether or not that's bad advice. Can I become a health mod of this group? I don't know. Bubble in my stomach, says Tokini Andy. Nondara do desu ka? Stay hydrated. Close, right? So, nomi is the mas stem of nomu. The short form past tense of nomu is nonda. So it needs to be nondara do desu ka. That's another reason I don't like considering this as tara do desu ka, because for verbs that end in da, it changes to da. So nondara do desu ka? But good. So how do you know if advice is solicited? The second example implied it wasn't always explicit. You can... 何？いや、前の文章が、何も質問がなかったのに、I don't know if you're talking about this one where White Day's coming. And this person then says, we gotta buy something for them. So they didn't ask a question, but they're saying we should buy something. So it's sort of obvious that we're open for ideas. I don't know if you're talking about that one or the last one here, which was Si-san ga suki da na. They might not be asking for advice. And maybe they will take offense to this. It's possible. But you can do it. Like, nobody's stopping you necessarily, but it could come off as a little bit rude. But generally speaking, in my experience, if you hear a sentence like Si-san ga suki da na from someone you're friends with, you've kind of got an opening to give advice because they're speaking very casually to you. You're obviously close to each other. You can give advice if you want. In fact, it probably would have made more sense to make the sentence プレゼントあげたらどう? Just to imply that we're both close. So if you're really close to someone and you want to give them advice, even if they haven't asked for it, you can. It might be perceived as unwanted. So you have to be careful. I would suggest being careful. But yeah, if someone asks an explicit question, obviously you can use it. 飲んだらどうですか? 確かに. You've already corrected him. Thank you, Matthias. Before that. Before that, もう見せたよ. I need someone to shout that at me regularly, info, bro. I actually drink a lot of water, so I'm good. So how do you know if advice... yeah, okay. 喫茶店に入ったらどうですか? どの喫茶店? どこにある? But no, good sentence. It's a good sentence. Before that, レストランに行ったらどうですか? どうですかね? Yeah, good. It's a good one. I would go to a restaurant, but I'm here. 晩ご飯に行ったらどうですか? いいね. That's a good one. Why don't you go to dinner? It would probably make more sense to say 晩ご飯を食べたらどうですか? Would make a little bit more sense. But, yeah. Just wasn't sure if it was similar to English, but that makes sense. 冷蔵庫にある魚を食べたらどう? Close, Californiano. You need to have that da there. 食べたらどう? Can't drop the da. The da is the most important part of that construction. Past tense plus da. 食べたらどう? Good. なんかあった？うん。はい。どこに行ったらどうですから、あなるほどね。晩ご飯に行ったらどうですか So you dropped an extra ra in there is what Yuki was pointing out. I imagine that's a typo. 食べたらどうですか確かに。Does 何かを食べたらどうですか make sense? Yeah. No, it doesn't quite make sense, but there is something you could try. What you're looking for is a very casual expression called 何か or なんかいいものを何か or なんか何か is also fine. 何かいいものを食べたらどうですか is what you're looking for there, Megan. So 何か something いいもの good thing. So もの is a thing but for physical objects, right? Koto is thing but for ideas or non-physical objects, events, for example, and it nominalizes things. But mono, I guess you could say it nominalizes, but not quite. It's a thing in like an actual physical thing. So いいもの a good thing. 何かいいものを食べたらどうですか is what you're looking for there, Megan. But I see where you're going for there. Good stuff. Pumpkin pie 食べたら、pumpkin pie 食べたい。It's so hard to find pumpkin pie here. Pumpkin pie を食べたらどうですか So 食べては、maybe it's just a typo, but what you want is 食べた So past tense, たらどうですか Aubergine. I want pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie is my favorite pie. And unless you make it from scratch, you can't get it here. I guess my favorite is pumpkin pie cheesecake, but yeah, you can't get pumpkin pie mix here. So you can't really get the type of pumpkins that you need to make pumpkin pie. And then you can't really get nutmeg. It takes a lot of effort to be able to get pumpkin pie here. Hi. So. When we were 2 years ago when we were driving across the United States, it was right around this time. It was mid-November, I'd say. So we drove across the south of the United States, and we went to Walmart a lot. Yuki really likes Walmart. And they had these tiny pies, tiny, about this big, for 50 cents. We ate far more of those than I'm proud to admit to. A lot of those. We ate a lot of those pies. 料理したらどうですか確かに Reynolds. That's a good sentence. Great sentence. Ah. 今更気づいた。ね。気づけた。Welcome, Michael! ありがとう says Megan. こんばんは、皆さん。こんばんは。Michael, good to see you. Yeah, it might have been the change of time and stuff. Dude, you ever have a good apple pie? Yeah, I like apple pie. I like it. It's certainly not my favorite, but I like it. Costco Japan sells American pumpkin pie, so here. Yeah, our closest Costco is about a 4 or 5 hour drive, so I like it. I don't know if I like it that much. I probably do. We'll see. I think Yuki likes banana pies. Maybe. 何のパイがよく食べたっけ、ユキ？が一番好きだった？アップルパイ？まあ、シナモンもついてるよ、アップルパイ。blueberry, she liked blueberry pie. Cranberry? なんだっけあれ、ピーカンパイは好きだったんだよね。Pecan pie, I also like pecan pie a lot. She ate a lot of pecan pie as well. It's not too bad to make pumpkin pie here in Japan, but you do have to shop a few places to get the ingredients. Agreed. Better. Pumpkin pie を食べたらどうですか Perfect sentence, Aubergine. Nice. 台所に行って何か作ったらどうですかいいね。Good sentence, Californiano. Perfect. I do like any pies, says Yuki. I went to Costco today. Ina, ever tried an English steak and kidney pie? I have. Those are also good, but definitely a different type of situation you're eating those in, I feel like. All right, guys. Oops, I forgot to pop up the footy gunner there. I think you guys had it down, though. Okay. So, our last section for tonight, good job, guys, is only and as many. Now, this shouldn't be a confusing sentence, but... confusing sentence. Now, this shouldn't be a confusing section, but the English translation of the two terms we're about to go over is, I'd say, lacking. It's not quite dead on. Not the way that Genki calls it. I switched it actually to only to make a little bit more understandable, but it still doesn't. It's still not quite what I want it to be. The way that Genki refers to these two terms as, which are mo and shika, two particles, is as many as mo and as few as shika. I prefer to think of shika as only, but the reason they say as few as is because you always use a negative verb with shika. You must use a negative verb with shika, whereas with mo, you use a positive verb. As many as something. So that is noun plus ga or o. Either particle is fine. Number plus a counter. Mo, verb means as many as. So one other thing I need to mention is there's other ways to use these two particles, both mo and shika. There are many ways, but the only way we're covering in Genki lesson 14 is using it with numbers plus a counter, using it with numbers. So a certain amount, as few as a certain amount of this thing, or as many as. But you can use them in other situations, like for example, just a quick example of using shika is 俺は pumpkin pie しか食べません. So that sentence meant I eat nothing but pumpkin pie. I eat only pumpkin pie. Nothing but is probably the best English translation of that. So shika plus a negative verb just means nothing but that. Is, I feel like, an even better way to say it. But with numbers, as few as or only seems to make more sense. And that's all we're going over tonight. So, okay. So basically how you use it is noun plus ga or o plus number plus counter. Mo, verb for shika as few as. We've got shika, negative verb. Okay? Some example sentences will make this make a little bit more sense. So, 本が2冊しかない. Nai is the negative of aru, to have. So, 本が2冊しかない. I only have 2 books. Or, I have nothing but 2 books. That's nothing but. I should have, if I had spoken out loud when I was making this lesson, I would have changed it, this section, from only to nothing but. Nothing but is a way better translation of this. Oh, I have it right down here. Nice. Okay, 本が200冊もある. So with mo, it means I have as many as 200 books, or something I like to use is a whole 200 books. That sort of gives the feeling of it in English, right? 50キロも歩いた is like I walked a whole 50 kilos, or I walked 50 whole kilometers, right? So as many as, it just doesn't feel like it gives enough emphasis for this word. Mo is putting like a lot of emphasis. I walked a whole 50 kilometers. Whereas if you were to say like this sentence, 本が200冊もある, I have as many as 200 books, doesn't sound nearly as emphatic as I have a whole 200 books, which is actually how this mo particle sounds in my mind. 2キロしか歩かなかった. I only walked 2 kilometers is the literal meaning of this, but since it's a negative, I walked nothing but 2 kilometers is literally kind of, I feel like, what it means more like. So yeah, you need to have a negative with shika. 50キロも歩いた. I walked 50 whole kilometers. Okay. お昼を買いたいけど, I want to buy lunch. 100円しかない. So it's a negative of aru again. 100円しかない. I want to buy lunch, but I only have 100 yen. Or I want to buy lunch, but I have nothing but 100 yen, which is about $1. お昼を買いたいけど100円しかない. Too bad, buddy. パソコンが3台もあるので1台を売ります. So here's the mo. I have a whole 3 computers. I have 3 whole computers. So I think I'll sell one. I will sell one. 売ります. 3台もある. 3 doesn't sound like much, but when it's computers, 3 is a lot. パソコンが3台もあるので1台を売ります. I think we do have 3 computers here. One is technically a tablet. And the little computer is our shared, like, a travel computer. And then there's my computer. But Yuki's old tablet, which still doesn't move very... I like to call it garbage. You can't even sell it. We can't even sell that one. So, what are you going to do? And that's that. If you have any questions about it, get to those right after this dialogue. ホワイトデーはどうだった?チョコレート 一箱しかもらえませんでした。そう残念。いいチョコレートだった？まあ、一箱は30万円だと言っていました。30万円もするチョコレートをもらった？ホワイトデーはどうだった？チョコレート一箱しかもらえませんでした。そう残念。いいチョコレートだった？まあ、一箱は30万円だと言っていました。30万円もするチョコレートをもらった？ Wow. Let's go over to the English. ホワイトデーはどうだった？ How was White Day? So there's another place that どう shows up. どうですか？ How was. どうだった is how was, or どうでしたか is how was something, right? チョコレート一箱しかもらえませんでした。I only received one box of chocolates, or I received nothing but one box of chocolates. もらえる is a little bit different from もらう. Now, the difference specifically, もらえる, let's look up the 辞書 definition is it's the potential basically of もらう. もらえる. It's not the potential basically, it is the potential. I don't know what I'm... Duh. It's the potential form of もらう. So I guess a better translation of this would be I was only able to receive one box of chocolates, or I was only able to receive one box of chocolates. So my English is a little off there. チョコレート一箱しかもらえませんでした. Now, this is more common. I would say もらえる、もらえませんでした is more common when saying you only received a certain amount of something. I was only able to receive a certain amount of something. Seems to be a little bit more common than もらいませんでした. I don't know why. I don't have an answer for why. But just know that when you're saying you were only able to receive a certain amount of something, もらえませんでした or もらえない or もらえなかった seems to be more common. For some reason. I'll have to look into that sometime. I just accept it at face value for some reason. Really? 残念. That's too bad. いいチョコレートだった? Was it good chocolate? まあ、一箱は30万円だと言っていました. Well, they said one box is 300,000 yen, or around $3,000. That's some good chocolate. 30万円もするチョコレートをもらった? You got chocolate that costs a whole 300,000 yen is what should be here. You got chocolate that costs a whole 300,000 yen. There's our も. 30万円もする. する can be used to mean something costs something. 30万円をする means that a thing costs a certain amount. It can be used in that way. So 30万円もするチョコレートをもらった? You got chocolate that costs a whole 300,000 yen? That's crazy. Our final question for tonight is何回日本に来たことがありますか? How many times have you come to Japan? 何回日本に来たことがありますか? And you can, if you've been here, you can use the actual amount of time. So for example, 3回しかいたことがありません. So if you're going to use しか, that needs to be ありません at the end, right? You're going to use ことがある, so ことがありません if you're using しか. If you've been here a lot of times, 10回も行ったことがあります. So unless you're here at the moment, you're going to use 行く instead of 来る. So I use 来た because I'm in Japan, so you came to Japan because I'm here. But if you are not in Japan at the moment, you're going to use 行く. So how many times? 10回日本に行ったことがあります. But if you want to say, you want a whole 10 times, 10回も日本に行ったことがあります. That would be your answer. But if you've only been here once, then you will say, 1回しか日本に行ったことがありません. Okay? If you've never been here before, you can say that if you want. 行ったことがありません. Or you can just make one sentence of each using an imaginary number. Well, don't use imaginary numbers because I don't remember how to work with imaginary numbers. It's been like 15 years since I did imaginary numbers. Just make up some numbers. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump into chat. I hope everyone's doing great. こんばんは、皆さん. Chicken Popeye. Popeye sounds Dutch. Haha, they make it a lot in the southeastern US. Is kilo the counter? Kilo is, yeah, it's a counter for kilometers. It just means kilometers. I guess you could call it a counter, but it just means kilometers. It can also be kilograms, yeah. Kilo is kilo of kilograms and of kilometers. So it's both. Takaichi? Takai. Yeah, I got you. Okay. What is it with those expensive chocolates? I don't know, man. She got $3,000 chocolates. Her plan backfired, I guess. Maybe it's really good. 一回しか来たことがありません. So since you're not here right now, you would say いた。ね。一回しかいたことがありません。一回しか行きませんでした. Oh yeah, that works too. That works as well. Nice. This question makes me sad. Nihon do not Pasco. I'm sorry. If you want, you can make a sentence like this, Nihon do not Pasco. You could say something like, いたことがありませんが、いたことがないけど、100回も行きたいです. For example, 100回も行きたいです. I want to go a whole 100 times, for example. Orus. Hey Andy, sorry for being kind of off topic. I just completed Tai Kim and decided to try reading Harry Potter, but I find myself relying on the dictionary a lot. Can you recommend easier books? Harry Potter is pretty rough. If you have a Kindle, it makes it a little bit easier, but even I read Harry Potter recently. I just finished 2 or 3 months ago, actually, reading the first Harry Potter in Japanese, and I still had to look up quite a few words. So, something significantly easier than that. Not significantly, but yeah, a lot more. Harry Potter was like 1 or 2 words per page, whereas Majo no Takkyubin was maybe 1 every 2 or 3 pages. So maybe Majo no Takkyubin. I'll drop that in chat. It's Kiki's delivery service. I don't know if you know about that. Majo no Takkyubin. Also, I just recently read, where is my new Kindle? 新しい Kindle わかる? あ、ここかな? My laptop bag. There it is. I can't remember the name of it. I just recently read a book that I found really cute. It was a little bit harder than Majo no Takkyubin, but I would say it was significantly easier than Harry Potter, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know what level you're at right now. Kiri no Mukou no Fushigi na Machi. Kiri no Mukou no Fushigi na Machi. It was really good. Kiri... 面白かった. Kiri no Mukou no Fushigi na Machi. It's with the kanji, so you can just copy and paste that if you want. Yeah, that one was really good. Majo no Takkyubin was readable, but it was harder than I remembered. I read it once 5 years ago, but reading it again recently, like, it wasn't hard for me to read. It was fine. It was just, there was a lot of extra words. There was a lot more in there than I remembered. It was a little bit more difficult than I remembered. Right now I'm reading Rayon to Majo, so Narnia. I'm reading the first Narnia right now, at the moment. I started reading the second Majo no Takkyubin and I didn't like it. It went too crazy. The first book was very down to earth. It made sense, sort of. The second one, she's carrying a hippo around, like a baby hippo around on her immediately, almost. Delivering it to get its tail was eaten by a lion. And not to spoil it, but its tail was eaten by a lion, so it had to go to a doctor, so she picked it up with her broom and flew it to a doctor who was trying to... it just got ridiculous. I didn't like it. So I switched to Narnia, the first book of Narnia, which I started to read years ago but found it hard. This time around it's much, much easier to understand. But yeah, Majo no Takkyubin, the first one, or Kiri no Mukou no Fushigi na Machi. It's not easy. It's not easy. If you have a Kindle, it will be very doable. Harry Potter might even be doable if you have a Kindle. It's way too hard to be looking up all those words in the beginning. Otherwise... Oh, okay. So you have the Kindle. So yeah, Kiri no Mukou no Fushigi na Machi and Majo no Takkyubin are probably really great starting points for you. Yeah, something like that. A lot of the books in the series that Kiri no Mukou no Fushigi na Machi, or maybe not that one. I really like her as an author, but like the Majo no Takkyubin じゃなくて the Narnia books, they're something bunko, nantoka bunko. A lot of the books have a grade on them. So there's a lot of classics and stuff, but they're graded for certain elementary school levels. What is the Tanko Bun? I can't remember. Something bunko. If you look up Rayon to Majo, the Narnia books in Japanese, whatever series they're from, those books are at a fairly low level, so those are really good for starting out. I'm gonna be trying to look up more books for a starter level. That's why I started reading those books actually, to see how they would be for starters. They're too hard, I think, for a first book, but like it'll take you a while, but they're enjoyable at least. And yeah, otherwise go for the graded readers, but those aren't on Kindle. And they're very expensive. But the level 4 graded readers would probably be good and could last you a while. Level 4. 一回も行った。一回も行った. Like you're okay. So you went a whole one time. Okay, gotcha. Nice. Did you mean 不思議? Did I not write 不思議? Fujigi. Yeah, it's 不思議, not フジギ. Sorry. 不思議. Yes. 日本に一回しか行ったことがありません. So you need to have こと at the end of the ita there. Otherwise, perfect Nikons. 日本に一回しか行ったことがありません. 日本語の本が一冊しか持っていません. This is Californiano. Nice sentence. Like it. Health check. Stay hydrated. 100回しか行ったことがある。100回も行ったことがあるけど、Yume datta. Okay. Patrick, close. So shika must be used with a negative, so it would have to be shika ita koto ga nai. And ga will generally be used after a mas form, like a polite tense. So you would want to use kedo there. So if you want to say that you went 100 as a whole 100 times, you would say 100回も行ったことがあるけどYume datta. It was a dream. Kindle is genius. Why did I never think of this? Kindle is amazing. Paul Blake, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Orus, I can understand Harry Potter, but I just end up looking up a lot of words. Yeah, it can be very overwhelming if you're having to look up words every page. It can be very overwhelming. Ideally there should only be 1 or 2 per page that you have to look up, and then you can sort of just skip them and still understand the meaning if you don't feel like looking up words at the time. Only because it's winter does not mean you are losing water. I know, man. You can hear my voice getting drier and drier. I'll make sure to check them out. はい、何ですか? 何? どれ? Is the purpose just to emphasize the speaker thinks the number is very big or very small? Big number is always good and small number is always bad. Not always bad, but yes, it is to emphasize that the speaker thinks the number is very big or very small. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if it's very small, it's bad. It just means that, like, I've only done that much, or I only have this many. It's not necessarily a negative thing. When I say negative, I mean negative in tense, like grammatically negative. You need to use a negative tense. But that doesn't mean it's bad. So, for example, you could use it to say you've only done this one bad thing, like 嘘を一回しかついたことない、つけたことない、つけたことない。Soついたことない。So I've told nothing but one lie in my entire life. Like, that's not a bad thing. That's a perfectly positive thing. But I'm just saying I've said nothing but one lie in my life. So it's just, when I say negative, I mean grammatically negative, not positive or negative in the terms of good and evil. But yes, it's when the speaker thinks the number is very big or small. Yes, absolutely. Sorry about that, Konal. Sorry it took me so long to answer that question. I don't know if you're still here. I hope you are, though. 読書ブックスを読んだらどうですか? 確かに。猫が2匹も飼っています。いいね、カリフォルニアの。日本は1回しか行かなかったけど、もうすぐに行くつもりです。いいですね。残念だけれど、日本に1回しか行ったことがありません。Good sentence, Michael. I'm not sure why the こと is there. So, ことがある. What chapter was that in? ことがある. 11 maybe? It's in Genki 1, but I don't... Lesson 12, was it? Lesson 12, ことが... ことがある was... I can't remember what lesson it was. Kotogaru is lesson 11, section 3. Kotogaru. So it basically means have the experience of, or I've never have I ever is where you use this. I have done this before. So 日本にいたことがある means I have the experience of going to Japan before. I have been there before. I have gone to Japan. So that's where the koto comes in. It nominalizes what comes before it. So 日本にいた. The experience of going to Japan, it makes it a thing. And I have that thing. I have that thing which was go to Japan. 日本にいたことがあります. I have that thing. So that's why you need the koto. What should we do if we don't know the right counter? You should use 一つ、二つ、三つ、四つ、五つ. And if it's a small item, you can generally use ko and get away with it. But if you don't know the counter, yeah, 一つ、二つ, 三つ. I often use 二個、一個、三個 if I'm not positive if there's not like a better counter for it. But generally it's 一つ、二つ. はい。一つ、二つ、三つ. 四つ is the best bet. Been a while since I said it, but check out the Patreon. Thank you. Yes, on the Patreon. Speaking of koto ga aru, there's lots and lots of practice to be had on the Patreon. We've got lessons 1 through 14 so far of textbook practice where Yuki and I are your partners. We've got listening and shadowing practice where you can listen to, so practice listening, and shadow, so speaking along with other people speaking, like Yuki and myself, to get used to the rhythm and pronunciation and speed and back and forth of Japanese. It helps you get much more fluid in your speaking, I believe. And I've been told by many people. And myself, I use shadowing. Not this shadowing in particular because I made this shadowing, but I did shadowing when I was learning Japanese and it helped a lot. We've also got vocabulary videos where you can shadow Yuki's vocabulary and listen to it and repeat after it and stuff like that. Lots of different sections. For lessons 1 through 14, I release those every 2 weeks along with the new lessons. So in 2 weeks, I'll be releasing lesson 15. You also get early access to the stream cuts. So for example, I release these stream cuts the next week before the practice, but you get them on Tuesday or Wednesday if you're on the Patreon. Also, 15% discount on the on merch from next month, and or free shipping. Those are available on the Patreon. And there's lots of other stuff as well. There's lots of different stuff on there right now. There's tests. There's tests for all of Genki 1 that you can check out as well. So please, if you want to support the channel, please consider checking that out if you have the time. And thank you to all of you who are already patrons. I know a lot of you are. We both really appreciate you and your support. Yeah, really, really appreciate it. Very, very thankful. I don't know if I can express how thankful we both are for all of your support. So thank you so much. Which brings us to thumbs up wo kogeki shite kudasai. Please smash that thumbs up button. Actually, attack it is what kogeki means. Attack it, assault it, hit it. Hit it. Channel登録 onegai shimasu. Please subscribe and hit the bell if you haven't already, so you know as soon as we go live next time. And you can beat the one person who disliked this already, because they were the first person here. The first person to hit the thumbs down, they were the first person on this video. So they're part of the notification squad. So I love you too, Mr. Thumbs Downer. Arigatou gozaimasu, says Megan Dornbrook. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for always being here and for practicing, for answering the questions and for interacting in chat. Makes these super fun. I wasn't feeling great today. I wasn't so much nervous, but I just was feeling under the weather this past couple days. So I was a little bit nervous about the stream because of that. But I felt like it. I feel good about it. I enjoyed it. And I forgot that I was dressed up as Tanjiro until I just looked at myself in the OBS studios. So anyway. Yes, Nihongo Hunters, if you're watching this still. Dan apologizes it. I hope you're not banned still. Thank you. Thank you so much for the donations, guys. Really appreciated that. Yeah, it was obviously Ando-san word. Otsukaresama deshita. So I will, yeah. I'll see you guys. Some of you probably tomorrow for the gaming stream. We probably Yuki has to work late tomorrow, so I don't know exactly what's going to be happening with the gaming stream, but it will probably happen. But it might be a little later than normal because she has to work late. Welcome, Josh San Miguel. Wow, first time I attended a live lesson. This is good to brush up. Thanks, Sensei. こちらこそありがとうございました。Thank you. I'm glad that you were here for it. I'm glad that you got to hang out. Aubergine, thank you. Appreciate it. The Patreon content is worth its weight in gold, says Tara Angel. Thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. It means a lot. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the gaming stream tomorrow. It might be a little bit late. But it'll happen. So maybe I'll see some of you there. If not, I'll hopefully see some of you next week for the practice session where we will practice even more with all the content that we just went over today. I will not be doing a premiere of the stream cut anymore. I'm going to be releasing it earlier in the day so you have time to look at it before we get to the practice instead of coming to the stream cuts because they're not that well attended anyway. So when can we play Among Us in Japanese again? That's definitely something that needs to happen again, isn't it? Definitely something that needs to happen. We'll see. We'll talk about it. Maybe next week. All right. Well, first time I attended a live lesson. This is good. Thank you. Here's the link for the patrons that's coming to Japan. Check out Come to Japan's channel. He wants to bring someone to Japan for free. Take care of yourselves, Andy. And Yuki says Carpe Diem. Thank you, Carpe Diem. As always, I appreciate you. 絶対に来週来ます says Michael. ありがとうございます. I'm loving the patrons, says Nikons. Thanks, guys. Thank you. And speaking of the patron, I'm going to run, well, first the thank you and then the ad. So here's a thank you, guys. Do you have an Instagram or a Facebook? I do have a Facebook page, but I never use it. And I do have an Instagram, but I never use it. Twitter, I use a lot more. But yeah, you can check out the Instagram. I might use it more sometime. Among Us will be fun, but need more practice with needed words and sentences. The best way to practice is to play more Among Us. All right, we'll see what happens, guys. I'm going to play this. Have a great night. Thank you so much for being here. See you next time. ありがとうございます。
お疲れ様でした。
また次のビデオで会いましょう。日本語勉強したいのか？俺と同じ風に日本語を喋れるようになりたいのか？この本持ってるのか？ Then we're here to help. え、そうなの？俺は無理って言おうと思った。On the Tokini Andy Patreon, we have listening and shadowing practice, Genki vocabulary practice, Genki textbook practice where Yuki, Ando, and I are your partners. Eventually, even workbook practice. え、そうなの？給料出る？
確かに。
Yeah, sure.
給料出るんだ。
After Genki 1, we'll be covering Genki 2, and eventually even intermediate textbooks. Detailed grammar lessons and Japanese Q&As will, as always, be on the YouTube for free. Tokini Andy Patreon, live right now. よろしくね。
よろしくお願いします。